Welcome to the Rig Report. My name is Scott Schweitzer, and I'm your host for today. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate that, and it does really help us out a lot. Today, we have a lot of great stories for you. I start off with Alexys De Trois. I got to speak with her recently about her journey from the Atlas Games to Mount Shasta in California for a great cause. Check it out. I am here with Alexys De Trois. She is an Atlas Games competitor who, the morning after, decided to go and give back to the community by doing a really cool event. And that's why we wanted to have her on today. So welcome, Alexys.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
So walk us through, you finished the Atlas Games, and what is the next 24 hours like?
Yeah, so we finished, and Carolyn had to do her testing, and then they had podium. So we didn't leave until like after 6 o'clock back to Toronto, which is like a 5-hour drive. Got back pretty late, like 12:30. Next morning, I didn't really sleep. I was up at like 4 a.m. To get to the airport. Toronto's airport is crazy right now, so you have to get there pretty early. Was on a flight, flew back to California, so it's like another 5-hour flight. Tried to sleep as much as I can because I didn't sleep at all. And then got out there, immediately went to my house out there, packed up my backpack, all my supplies, and then drove 4 hours to Mount Shasta, which is, I believe, California's highest peak or mountain, and it's part of like the Pacific Northwest mountain chain, which is about 14,100 feet elevation, to go do a climb. So I didn't get much rest. My body was a bit stiff, but like I knew I was gonna do this climb over 2 years now. Like I was supposed to do it this past last year, couldn't do it because of COVID and travel restrictions. So I knew this was coming, and I knew it was going to be tight with competition, but I was dedicated to the cause and everything going on. So made it to the climb on Monday, and then we started on Tuesday.
So you got there Monday night?
Yeah, so I got there around like 5:30. Went straight to like a welcome dinner for breast cancer prevention, the organization that was putting it on, and then we started early the next morning with like gear checks, and then not as long as a climb the first day, so it was only 3 hours the first day, but still a climb nonetheless with a pretty much a 50-pound backpack.
So the only advantage you had is going west. You gained some time back.
Yeah.
But that is still a crazy schedule. So you left Montreal at like 6 o'clock on Monday, and you were at a welcome dinner in California at 5:30 on Monday.
Yep.
Sunday to Monday.
Sunday to Monday. Yep.
Yeah, Sunday to Monday. That is crazy. And this was for breast cancer prevention.
Yep. So the organization that my company, Cliff Bar, that I work for, every year they pick two sponsored climbers of our company to represent Cliff Bar and fundraise for Breast Cancer Prevention Partners, which is a nonprofit organization that looks at all of the other factors that lead to breast cancer aside from genetics. So something that I found out is like more than 90% of breast cancer cases aren't linked to genetics. So there's something else causing it environmentally, whatever we eat, like something is causing it. So they look for what's causing that 90%. They go through different companies and like say we need to remove these products and chemicals from things that we're consuming. They go to environmental to see what's in the air. They'll look at like the areas that have higher cases of breast cancer and say, you know, what's a link here, and try to work with government, like enact, you know, laws and things to prevent those. So I really like it's a science-based program and it leads to results, and I think that was big for me too, is like I could see what they're doing and like it's actually leading to, you know, prevention for women. So yeah, like I knew going into this that this was going to be close for me, and really passionate about like how I could use my fitness, use my platform to fundraise and do things for organizations. So I was with about 22 other climbers, ranging. I would say I was one of the youngest at like 30. There may have been, actually, the youngest was a 16-year-old with her mom, but like as far as the adults, most of them were in the 40s and plus. But there was even a 75-year-old woman who did the climb with us. So age ranges were all over, and just like women who've battled breast cancer multiple times, or you've had family members who've lost, friends who have been lost, or just really wanting to do something to help prevent it. So just amazing people that I was with.
And you can't walk outside your house without knowing a couple people who have suffered breast cancer. It
Yeah.
is a very widespread and almost a pandemic type disease. So what did the climb entail?
So the first day we climbed to base camp, which was about 8,500 feet elevation, so 8,500. And the goal that day was like to get acclimated to the higher elevation. So we started, I think it was like about 3,000 was where like the city is. And then you drive a bit, and then you're climbing for like a little over 3 hours to get to the base camp. And then that first day was more so like, let's get acclimated to the air. Let's do some ice training. So there's still snow on the mountain, like at certain spots. So you have to learn how to use your crampons, which are like spikes that go into your shoe, and then a pickaxe so that you learn how to climb. And then you're roped together, so you're tied to different team members. So it was just like learning all of these things, and then yeah, just like getting to know your team that you're with and the guides that you have. That first day, they had us rent boots, and I have like all the regrets. I got blisters like my first climb there, so I was already like struggling that first day. But and then you go to bed pretty early. You wake up at 2 in the morning the next day, so not much sleep again. And you're not really sleeping, like you're just thinking about what's going to happen. But that second day, there was a full moon, which was amazing. So we woke up at like 2 a.m., had a quick breakfast, and it was the summit day. So you do over 10 hours of climb, and ascent, and descent. Um, and I mean, someone was like, "How was the view? Like, are you looking at the stars?" I'm like, "No, you're looking down at your feet. Like, you're just trying not to fall." So you're climbing pretty much the entire day with your group, and your group had like every group had less than 10 people just for safety, and they want you spread out on the mountain. Like, they don't want a large group to just like compromise the nature, so you kind of spread out. We were climbing, and we made it to uh, almost like the plateau and the peak, but the winds at the top were over 80 miles per hour, and upwards of 100. So at that point, they're like, okay, this isn't safe. The week prior, there was a safety incident, and someone passed away on the mountain, unfortunately. So they were a lot more cautious on what we were doing, and we were on the opposite side of where the accident happened, though. But they turned everybody around before the plateau, so um, everybody had to get turned down. But you're like hiding behind rocks, like falling over from the wind. Like, it was very windy, but it's like a team, so like everybody's there to support you. You're roped into each other. You make it down. I would say most people made it down around like before 4 p.m. was like the latest. So about 3 a.m. to 4 p.m. of client ascent, descent. And then you're back at base camp for the night, um, eating dinner, hanging out with, like, reflecting on everything that happened, like talking about the climb, like trying to get your feet to feel a bit better. My knees were in the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Like, it was very hard. Like, you think about a CrossFit workout being like less than 30 minutes, maybe even less than 10 minutes. But this, you're like climbing for 10 hours. Like we don't really train that long of a time at that, just like a steady state with a heavy backpack. So using my fitness, you're like, dang, I'm fit. But like there's women there that are older than me, or, who don't do competitive CrossFit, but like are so good on that mountain that you're like, they're inspiring me to like keep going, or I'm looking up to them and like getting tips from them on how to actually walk, or like what my steps should be, and how I should be walking on the mountain. So, and then Thursday we did the climb down. So it was about like another 2 hours to get down, which was nicer than climbing up. Then you have like a celebration dinner, reflection, and like a thank you thing, and then left on Friday.
And so the way the organization earns money is through the sponsorship through Cliff Bar, correct? With you.
So every climber fundraised, and we had a goal as a group to, I think our initial goal was, I don't know, maybe it was less than like 250,000 as a group. We ended up raising over 350,000 for the organization.
That's awesome.
And that's through all of the fundraising efforts. Like one woman who raised the most, she wanted to raise 50,000 for her 50th birthday. Just she was on the board of the organization, and she is just like very passionate, and hustled like nobody's business, and ended up raising over 70,000. So like everybody had their own personal goal of what they wanted to hit. So I was close to my to the 10,000 mark. I think I was at about 9,000, and my goal was about 7,000. So I passed my fundraising goal too. But Cliff Bar is one of their like, aside from like sending 2 climbers and then those climbers fundraising for the cause, they also like do grants for the organization, so they'll fund them other ways too, and then they send Cliff Bars and other support to them for their events. So they try to continue to be involved in that piece. But yeah, every person is fundraising and trying to get as much as we can for the organization.
Is there any way that people can donate now?
Yeah, so I have a link still. I don't know how long the link will be live, but there's always on the website. There's always a link to donate, so I could post that or send it to you, and you could have it. Their organization.
We'll put it down below in the description.
bcpp.org, and then I have like a slash. But always looking for donations. Like they're utilizing every piece of that, and they're funded by these fundraisers or grants from different companies that help sponsor them. So all nonprofit.
And it fits in with Cliff Bar because the packaging is a person climbing a mountain.
Oh yeah,
a
and that's the roots of Cliff Bar, is like outdoor fitness and like those endurance-based events. So they started with biking, wanted to climbing, longer runs, and now you see it kind of everywhere in like a kid's lunchbox or soccer games. And just like our slogan is like nutrition for sustained energy. So just like continuing to go and be on the go and just like sustain. So I think I ate a lot of, we have like the Cliff gel blocks. Those are what I lived off on the mountains. So very good. And yeah, I'm glad that I got the opportunity, and now I'm trying to stay as close as I can. So like CrossFit does a lot with Pink October and like their breast cancer events. So I reached out to some of those competitions that run, like Girls Gone RX is a big one that does that, to see if there's a way to partner there, because prevention can also be being fit, like using fitness, like understanding your health and wellness, and like eating better and those pieces, and it links directly with CrossFit. So and what the mission and foundations of CrossFit are, and if I could use that in those platforms and continue to fundraise for this organization that's doing great things in the environment and health factors, then I'm going to continue to do that.
Well, that is an awesome story, Alexys. You are an OG CrossFitter. You've been around the game a very long time, and you are an advocate for so many people. Do you have anything else coming up in the near future?
I'm not quite sure yet of things that I do. Generally, I do another fundraiser for I didn't do it for semi, so I would usually do like a t-shirt sale, but donate 100% of the proceeds to a nonprofit, like inner city organization. So I'll probably do something along those lines going into the fall, but more so like a competition, and then donate those funds to an organization or sponsor a kid who wants to come in and do CrossFit. So those are things that I look to do, just like bringing in more kids to fitness and introducing them to that. Not so much that they have to drop everything and specialize in CrossFit, but how they can get their family involved, teach their family about nutritional things at home, and just getting people moving and healthy, because that's like the biggest thing to prevent chronic disease and sickness from plaguing us. So.
Well, I got to know you during our Meet the Athlete series of the semifinals. You're one of my favorite people now, and
Thank you.
and people should follow you on Instagram because you do so much for so many groups of people. And your Instagram handle is, if you're watching on YouTube, is at the bottom of the screen. If you're listening on a podcast, it is at itslex24.
Yep.
So make sure you follow her to see all the great things she's doing, and we hope to have her back on the Rig Report soon. So thank you so much for joining us, Alexys.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Alexys. And what an amazing story. And I love what you are doing in the community and can't wait to stay in touch with you. Next up, we have Type 1 Lifting, who sits down with Jeff Zwolle. He is a TikToker, he is a CrossFitter, and he's an openly gay man. This month is Pride Month, and we wanted to get his impressions of what that means to him.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Type 1 Lifting Podcast. I have a very interesting guest. I've been following him on TikTok for quite a while. So he also owns a CrossFit gym as well. This is influencer Jeff Zwolle. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Not bad. Thank you for coming on the show. When I first saw you, it was pretty much on TikTok. And so, but before TikTok, I want to kind of talk about, and even owning a CrossFit gym, I kind of want to talk about how you even got started. Because I know in the beginning you had a 9-to-5 job. So what were you doing at your 9-to-5 job?
So believe it or not, for the last, I'd say 30 plus years, I was working in the fast food industry.
Okay.
So I went to Penn State and have a bachelor's in microbiology and a master's in food science. And of all things, I ended up graduating with my master's and going to work for Domino's Pizza Corporate in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I worked for them for 20 years. Great job, great company. Ended up 8 years in international, basically traveling the world.
That's awesome.
All things, developing pizza cheese and pizza sauce, like in Australia and Korea, Taiwan, Greece. I remember one time sitting in Athens, Greece, thinking, how the hell did I get here? It's kind of like backtracking, like this led to this, led to this. And now I'm sitting here in Athens, Greece, going to a pizza supplier for Domino's Pizza. So I did that for 20 years. And after 20 years, I kind of wanted to do something different. So I ended up taking a job down in Miami with Burger King and kind of doing the same thing there. My roles at Domino's and Burger King were basically developing new products. So I led the menu development team and marketing. Mm-hmm. So my team was the one that came up with the Philly cheesesteak pizza and, the Buffalo the Buffalo wings. And then was at Burger King for 4 years and left there and ended up in Southern California working for all places Jack in the Box. So I tell people I spent the first 30 years making people unhealthy. Now I'm spending the rest of my time making people healthy. And kind of semi-retired. Not really my choice. Was laid off, let go, left the industry 4 years ago. Yeah, 4 years ago. Took a year off and then ended up investing in buying a CrossFit gym.
Okay.
That's what I've been doing the last 3 years. CrossFit.
So were you typically eating like when you're working at Domino's and then Burger King and Jack in the Box, you were eating their food and stuff?
I would literally come down like a Jack in the Box. I would literally come down to the test kitchen and at 9 o'clock in the morning, the person who was in charge of the burger category, I would have 9 burgers lined up in front of me.
Oh, geez.
And I mean, we would use spit cups like they do in the wine industry.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't eat all this stuff. So you chew it and then, you spit it out. But like 9 o'clock, I'm eating burgers, and 10 o'clock, I'm having fries. And in the afternoons, it's shakes and chicken sandwiches. And, the food's good. But after a while, my focus in terms of kind of what I really wanted to do was not that. I loved the creative part, the marketing and creating things, but it got harder and harder to eat that food every day.
I was just going to ask you that. So
Yeah.
with Domino's, I know you said you make the Philly cheesesteak burger. Did you do the barbecue chicken one too as well?
Yeah, I mean, when I was, and this is like 15 years ago, we were doing like, we would come out with like 5 or 6 new pizzas a year. So we were always coming up with something different, but I worked on like the Philly cheesesteak pizza. My team developed the buffalo wings, the New York style, the deep dish. We did all that.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you were also talking about social media, like, learning how to do social media. So obviously you're pretty well known on TikTok and you're pretty well known on Instagram. So how like, first of all, like, how did you even like want to sign up for an account on TikTok? And like, did you even realize like you were going to explode the way you did?
Well, it was during COVID. And then I was doing the social media for our gym, and I had my personal account, and got on TikTok during COVID and was just playing around with it. I had it as the gym account,
Okay.
and really wasn't getting a lot of traction because it was a business account. So I thought, what the hell? I'll switch it over to my personal account. And then started getting more views, and I made this and they say this is what happens. I made this really quick video post of can you skip to the good part? That trending sound.
Yeah.
And it was me like in a suit, and skipping to the good part was like owning the gym. And this thing went off like over the weekend, and I think it's like 1.3 million views now.
Dang, that's crazy. That's crazy.
And I mean, people were reaching out to do like I got this woman from LinkedIn who saw on her TikTok and reached out to me on LinkedIn, and she wanted to interview me and put me on a webcast for this thing that they were doing on LinkedIn about the Great Resignation. And you're like the 3rd person that's reached out to do a podcast with. And,
Oh, cool.
And then just kind of got hooked doing, the TikToks and just having fun with it. And I thought it was going to do more of like a perspective of like a business owner, but now it's just more of a kind of a fun account. And
Yeah. And I love it how you like kind of mix both together of like business and doing fun at the same time. So, cause I remember like you had that video of like, how do I clean my gym after a rainstorm? And then like the next one, you're just like doing like doing a skit that you had like a voice. You're not even doing a voiceover, but like you had a voice out like talking, and then like you're doing something,
Well, that cleaning video with the Zamboni.
Yeah.
250,000 views. It's like of me cleaning the gym.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't get the algorithm, but
I don't either. I mean, I've gotten viral on one post. What it was I was doing 3 hang cleans, hang power cleans, and this girl was like in the background, and I didn't really notice in the video until my buddy showed me, and she's just sitting there staring at me like drinking water, and just watching me doing the cleans, and then like it just absolutely blew up because I put an arrow on her, and so like for some reason I hit like 600,000 views, but I haven't been able to hit that like after that. So
it comes and goes, and now it's just more for fun, and yeah, I like it. It's fun.
Yeah, and also you've gotten some like a little exposure on Instagram too as well.
Yeah,
Just from that.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm running the account there and then my personal account, and then you start watching YouTube videos on how to grow and how to edit and that type of thing, and then you learn about the algorithm. And but I'm getting, and now brands are reaching out, and they're paying me for like content. So yeah. I mean, people are sending me things to review and paying me for content. And sure.
One of the questions I had to you, since it's Gay Pride Month. So what does Gay Pride Month mean to you?
Wow. So, I mean, 30 years ago, so I graduated out of high school in 1981, and it was very different
Mm-hmm.
back then. I mean, and I always knew, but you kind of push it down and think, okay, I can like pretend like I can change. And I mean, back then was like the whole AIDS crisis, so even that was like going through your head. So nowadays, especially here in our dark blue bubble of Southern California, very liberal state,
Yeah.
it's very different. So I think what gay pride means to me now is just showing people that you can be who you are, and be out and proud about it. I mean, I never would have thought I'd be on a podcast telling someone that I'm gay. you know?
Yeah.
I don't know how many people are going to see it. And now with even like the social media, it's like at some point you got to own it. It's like life is short. Um, and it's like, what are you waiting for?
Mm-hmm.
Live your moment, and
Yeah.
not just with with gay pride, but the whole like leaving my job. And I see so many people like waiting to like be who they are or do what they want to do or travel, and you don't know what life is going to bring in next week and where you're going to be and how healthy you're going to do, and just do it and be
Yeah.
who you are. I mean, I think, yeah. So for me, gay pride is just owning it and being who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Tom, for doing that interview with Jeff. Great stories, and I can't wait to hear more. Next up, we have our friends from Fantasy Fitnessing. Catherine walks us through the Last Chance Qualifier and what that means for their game. You can find that game at fantasyfitnessing.com.
Hi everyone, Catherine here from Fantasy Fitnessing. Just going to talk a little Last Chance Qualifier, kind of what we're doing for the game and who's sort of going, what's happening, and a little get excited about Last Chance Qualifiers. All right, so first things first, the invites have been sent out. The leaderboard is slowly populating. Doesn't seem to be populating quite as fast as things on Instagram. So there's people that have kind of posted about accepting their invite, but aren't on the leaderboard yet. So as of this moment in time, at 10 a.m. Mountain Time on the 24th of June, we've got Hazim Tarifi, Nick Matthew, Dennis Samsonov, Mitchell Stevenson, Jacob Pfaff, Tyler Christoffel, Ruin Pottiger, Darren Zernamer, Fabian Benito, Jack Douglas, Yonakoski, Luka Ducek, Jake Berman, Tim Paulson, Christine Raquelme, Jeremy Vigneault, and James Sprague. People like Bailey Martin, he has posted about it. So keep an eye out as hopefully this loads up a bit more. On the women's side, we've got Fisa Gaffi, Elena Cartella, Swana, Hattie Kano, Ora Cohen, Masha Savina, Callista Lang, Kelly Clark, Ohana Moya, Duan Young, Taylor Howe, Catherine Davis-Daughter, Jamie Simmons, Madeline Sturt, Chloe Wilson, Tori Dyson, Christina Levitikakis, Gabby McClellan, Ariel Lowen, Sarah Sigmundsdottir, and Christine Best. So when we loaded our game, we put everybody that qualified because there was no leaderboard to sort of go from at that point. We are going to be trimming athletes out of the game probably like Tuesday this week. We'll be emailing everybody that set a lineup to make sure, kind of highlighting who we've removed, who's on your team, and just sort of raise that flag for you to make sure that you check that all the athletes that you have on your team are competing. So Dave's team at this moment in time is Jamie Simmons, Ariel Lowen, and Chloe Wilson, James Sprague, Luka Ducek, and Tyler Christoffel. My team's got Dennis Samsonov, Yonakoski, and James Sprague, Katrin, David-Daughter, Taylor Howe, and Jamie Simmons. So those are our lineups right now. I think all of those people have accepted and are on the game site leaderboard, so they're kind of safer lineups. So yeah, log in to fantasyfitnessing.com, play with it a bit, and set your lineup. We have made all of the athletes $40, so nobody's weighted, seated any higher than anybody else. So, and then change the salary cap to $240. So 3 athletes on the men's side, 3 athletes on the women's side. Pick who you think is going to do the best. It's kind of the first time crossing over since the Open, but the Open is just such a big thing that could be a fun one to see sort of how it all shakes out as everybody is competing across the world again. So that is our game. Get in on it. Also, make sure you follow us on Instagram at Fantasy Fitnessing. We're going to post different like stats and profiles and things like that might sort of inform you a bit more about different athletes and make you think about things that you might want to change things up. Who knows? Or set your lineup and it'll be perfect. But yeah, so that's our game. That's sort of who's in there. Kind of looked at last year's events. It had the 40, 30, 18 cal row, and then dumbbell hang snatches, 3-rep deadlift, 100 burpees to a target, and then the double under squat, cleans, legless rope climbs, sort of descending reps, ascending weight. Definitely sort of doable by everybody in the field. It'll be interesting to see if they do put another sort of like heavy max lift in. We've done some already this year. Do we need another one? Who knows? There are other podcasts debating those things. Yeah, so it looks like it could be a fun one, even if just the athletes that are there are the ones that compete. There's lots of names. We've got past games champs. We've got perennial games athletes. We've got people coming back from injuries, people that weren't able to compete at their semifinal that were given a spot at Last Chance because of travel restrictions and issues. So it could be a really cool event. Too bad it's online, so we'll be able to watch people head to head, but the CrossFit Games leaderboard will be refreshing often. So yeah, have some fun with it. Log into our game. See who gets those last games ticket spots. It's going to be a big weekend. Lots of big names competing. It should be fun. All right, we will see you on the leaderboard.
Thank you, Catherine. And be sure to check out more from Fantasy Fitnessing at fantasyfitnessing.com and here on the Clydesdale Media Podcast Network. Finally, we have Cheryl Nasso, host of Fit Body Secrets. She is going to talk to us about how do you know when you are overtraining.
All right, guys, what is up? It is Coach Cheryl here from Fit Body Secrets. And today's episode, I am actually going to be answering a listener's question. I thought this question is one that is, even if you haven't asked it yourself, you've thought about it yourself. And I know that it is one that we often have a lot of opinions on and want to kind of go ahead and give you guys my opinion and hopefully give you guys some things to consider and hopefully help you guys out with this. So the question is, how do you know when you're overtraining or overdoing it? This week, I did 3 classes, WODs Monday through Wednesday, then 2 weightlifting sessions on Thursday and Friday. Tomorrow is a team workout. I feel fine, a little achy and stiff in areas, but not sore. Whoop giving me a decent recovery score. When do you know you're overdoing it? Is rest and recovery overrated if you feel fine? Just conscious everyone telling me to take it easy. This is such a good question. And it really is an it depends answer because everybody's going to be a little bit different in terms of how much volume they can tolerate. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys some things to think about when you're figuring out how much volume you can tolerate. You guys are all familiar with Rich Froning. He is definitely the GOAT in my opinion. He's been around for a long time and he very rarely takes a rest day. However, he's accumulated years and years and years of volume. So he knows what to be looking for in his body when he's under recovered. I'm going to start by just pointing out one question that you had though in this question is rest and recovery overrated if you feel fine? First and foremost, rest and recovery is not overrated. It is how you make gains. It is how you make progress in the gym. We need it, but sometimes it might look different for everybody. I think that there's a misconception of what rest and recovery is. Your rest and your recovery periods should hopefully be getting you ready for the next day. Just because you feel fine doesn't mean you don't still need to recover and repair and get ready for the next day. You don't always have to be smashed to feel like you need to have a day to rest and recover. Sometimes I take a rest day and I'm like, okay, it's my rest day, but I don't really feel like tired. That's a good thing. Other times I need a rest day and I'm not supposed to have a rest day. So it's really important to learn how to listen to your body, but I am going to go ahead and go over a couple of things to consider. She mentioned the whoop strap, which if you listen to my last rig report, I talked a little bit about the whoop strap and or ring and all those different things. They are good metrics for you guys to look at, because what you're seeing a lot of times in your recovery score is how well you're sleeping, and also your HRV, or your heart rate variability. Your heart rate variability is a great thing for you to see how well your central nervous system is recovered. And so that is a good piece for you guys to consider when you're looking at things like going in and PRing a lift, or you're, doing a lot of high stress level movements that require a ton of thinking. So wanting to have that in a good place is probably good. It doesn't mean that just because it says you're not recovered, that you're not going to be able to go in and still do those movements. It's just showing you that according to your body right now, your sympathetic and your parasympathetic nervous system may not be optimal. Doesn't mean that you can't still train. It just means that that's something to think about. If your trends are going down and you're also seeing decreases in your lifts, or you're not feeling as snappy in things, that might be a sign to listen to that and pay attention to it. But going into this woman's question, or man's question, I'm not sure which one it is how do you know if you're overtraining or you're overdoing it? So here are some things that I want you guys to think about. And this goes for whether your goal is to perform your best for a competition, whether you're just trying to get the most out of your CrossFit workouts and you want to be able to live your life. So number one is changes in sleep quality and quantity. If you are all of a sudden not sleeping like you normally do, and nothing else has changed in your life, meaning all of a sudden you're waking up frequently, even if it's to use the bathroom, or if you just find that you can't fall asleep, you can't stay asleep, you're kind of got this weird sensation of being wired and tired at the same time. That's one of the biggest symptoms of being a little bit overtrained or not recovered enough. Another thing to pay attention to is your mood, and not just feeling depressed, but also how things trigger you throughout the day. Do you get anxious very easily? Are things setting you off easily? Are you actually depressed? Are you kind of crying a little bit more? This has happened to me in my CrossFit career, where I've went through periods where all of a sudden everything makes me upset. So how is your mood changing? Are you noticing changes in your mood? Changes in your appetite are another big thing. And for some people, that means they're starving all the time. They're getting a lot of cravings. For others, it might be actually a decrease in their appetite, that they're having a hard time getting in enough calories. And that's often coupled with a weight loss, and not a desired weight loss, and all of a sudden weight loss. So it's really important that I think those are probably the three main things to be looking at in terms of knowing if you're overtraining or overdoing it. Obviously, another one, which she mentioned, she's a little achy and stiff. Yeah, if you're getting a lot of injuries, all of a sudden you find that you're getting sick very often, those things are going to be more of a compounding of a long term, which is what I want to kind of go into now. Is overtraining doesn't typically happen after a couple of days of hard workouts. Overtraining is something that happens over months and even years of just pounding the body into the ground and just not ever recovering. It takes a long time to really get into an overtrained state. However, what a lot of people are doing is they're not recovering enough. And so their results are suboptimal. They're not getting as good of results. And I want to differentiate a little bit the difference between overreaching and overtraining, because overreaching is you're kind of walking that fine line. It's usually if you do CrossFit and you're like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then Thursday's your lower day or your rest day, and then Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday's your day off. Usually by Wednesday, with the compounding stress of training and work and maybe even some sleep stuff because you've been staying up late for work and stuff like that, or getting projects done, you might find that you're like, oh, thank God it's a rest day. But then come Friday, you're like, oh, I feel good again. So you might see those slight decrease in your performance, but they're not a consistent decrease. You just might not feel your best. Overreaching is something that we want to do. We want to kind of be pushing that fine line if we're looking to make a breakthrough happen. We kind of need that overreaching state. So the last thing I want to talk about today is kind of obviously overtraining, under recovery, overreaching. They are a part of fitness. You are going to often experience some days and times where you probably don't feel your best. But it makes the days you feel your best feel really good. And you're usually going to get really good scores in your workouts and feel awesome. But how can we optimize things to ensure that we are getting the most out of our training and that we are preventing ourselves from under recovering, which is probably the more common thing that we're seeing and what you're likely experiencing from people telling you to be conscious of things. Number one, if you feel good, I personally don't think that the volume you're doing looks super high. Some people, like I said, you can't go by everybody. Everybody's very different. What one person sees as a lot of volume, another person might see as like a deload week. So you have to understand where you're at. I often find that a lot of endurance athletes often have a higher tolerance to volume. And I think that it's because they do so much of that lower intensity work, which is really good for recovery. And it's one of the reasons why you'll notice that a lot of the competition style blogs are now incorporating a ton of like 30 to 40 minute zone 2 sessions, because it does help the body recover, it allows you to tolerate a little bit more volume. So how can we optimize things? Well, there is one way, is making sure that you're doing some lower intensity work. It doesn't have to be zone 2 work all the time, but I do think like 2 sessions a week, usually after like that hard session, if you do like a really hard, like maybe it's a quicker workout that you really tax your body, a longer aerobic piece where you're not pushing yourself too much is going to be a really good way to recover from that. Other things to be doing is doing some stretching, mobility, things that are going to help you guys tap into that parasympathetic nervous system. Also watching out for any joint issues and stuff like that. So if you want to be able to handle higher volume, you're going to have to put a little bit more work in on the recovery. And then also going into recovery is making sure that you're getting in enough sleep and that your quality of sleep is good. So there's only so long you can live, going on, very like poverty sleep numbers, right? You want to make sure that you're getting in enough sleep, because over time, that compounding stress of lack of sleep is going to cause you to start to under recover, going to lead you into that overtraining, and you're going to see diminishing returns on your lifts and your performance. So making sure that you're getting in quality sleep and that it's good. And then obviously, I think another piece is getting in enough calories, getting in enough carbohydrates, getting in enough protein. I think that people really underestimate the importance of nutrition for recovery because they see it as almost like a nuisance. And I'm a believer that nutrition is medicine, and that we are going to be our best if we feed our bodies the best. And that means not just focusing on food quality, but getting in enough of those high quality foods, high quality carbohydrates, high quality proteins to allow our body to recover. And as you're going to notice here, I didn't mention any supplements, because supplements can also help with recovery, but they're so minimal, so I think that as long as those basics are covered, you're probably off to a good start. And then the last thing that just to touch on here is understanding what your motivating factors are and what your overall goals are for going into the gym so often. If it's something that you truly enjoy, it's going to be a lot harder to overtrain, because you're always going to be looking at optimizing things. You're going to be going to the gym, like looking at what haven't I touched on this week, and you're going to be motivated by those things. Just make sure that you don't burn out the candle too fast. So know that progress happens over time, and that sometimes more volume short term isn't always going to get you the progress you want long term. Sometimes just following a structured program, which it does look like you have a pretty good structure there. I like the Monday through Wednesday classes, and then the Thursday and Friday, and being more weightlifting focused, and then a Saturday teamwork. I think that's a good balance. So that's it, guys. Hopefully that was helpful for you all out there, and keep hitting the gym.
Thank you, Cheryl. That was awesome. And you can catch so much more with Cheryl on Fit Body Secrets right here on the Clydesdale Podcast Network, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. I want to end today's show with a little bit of a thought. I know a lot has happened politically over the last few weeks, and I see a lot of things on social media that I do not like. And this is what I want to say. I have thoughts and I have opinions about a lot of things. And those are based on what I have experienced and what I have learned in my life. And in no way do I think I am smart enough or have learned enough from my perspective to know the complete story on any topic. What makes this country great is the ability to sit down with people from different backgrounds and different perspectives than I have. That's how you learn, that's how you grow, and that's how you understand. What's happening right now in this country with the divisiveness and the hate is hurting my soul. Love and understanding is greater than hate. And with that, I'll say, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Instagram at the Clydesdale_media. And we'll see you next time on the Rig Report.